God, thank you for this blessing of being together with your family, with your kids, and the great pleasure of being able to praise you and worship you and sing songs about you and testify about you. And God, I pray you're blessed as we do all of this morning. We just want to honor you and say thank you for being a good, good Father, being an incredible God, and a loving and merciful and gracious Savior. And thank you for being with us here this morning. You have promised to be here because you walk in here with every follower of Jesus, and so we're excited to worship you today and praise you in music as we sing these songs that we know to be true about you and they talk about you, and we pray you're blessed by the voices of your church today. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's stand together and worship God.
All right, guys.
Please pay attention to your bulletin. We're trying a new thing. When you came in, you may have seen some of the announcements on the screen scrolling through. We try and keep that in front of you. We don't have a whole lot more ways to tell you what's going on in the church. The announcements, the bulletin, the television screen, the screen up here, all those sorts of things, websites, Facebook, that kind of stuff, if you're onto that. So please be aware of what's going on. If you are a Wi-Fi person, notice that the Wi-Fi has changed. If you can get online with your Bible through your phone or your tablet, that's great. You plug in that way. That's just a new thing that people do. So if you're doing that, you can jump on either Bethel Nazarene, or you might log in and see it says EXT. You can do that one as well, same password. So EXT or the one in your bulletin, The EXT actually is closer if you're in this room, and you can use that as well. So there's some Wi-Fi information for you there today. If you want to go to the Mexico trip next June, if you're thinking, yeah, I might go to that, I got some questions. Will I become a member of the cartel? Will I get kidnapped and locked up in Mexican? Will all this stuff happen? Please stick around today after service. We're going to have a really short meeting just to kind of give you some parameters of what's going on with Mexico in June. And it seems like, hey, that's like 8 months away, but it comes up really, really quickly. We'd love to have you go. Even if you think, I don't know if I can go financially or for some other reason, come to the meeting anyway, just tell me that you're interested. We'll talk about how to see if you can go. So today, right after service, we want to kind of get that ball rolling. Last thing I want to mention to you is that on Thursday, our family is leaving on vacation and we'll be gone through the Thanksgiving holiday. So if you have an emergency, you're going to see 2 phone numbers in your bulletin. So please be aware of these. The church office will be closed. So there won't be anybody here at the church you call down here and say, why aren't they answering the phone? They never answer the phone. First of all, it's Thanksgiving, nobody's answering the phone. And second of all, we'll be gone. So the church office will be closed. If you have an emergency defined as I'm in the hospital, my loved one's in the hospital, somebody died, please do not call Jeff Johnston at 9 o'clock at night to find out what you're supposed to bring to the potluck. Okay? This is an emergency, okay? So those sort of things, there's some information there in your bulletin. Call Jeff or call Diane if you have a genuine emergency. If it's that severe, they'll get a hold of me and we'll go from there. But really, they're completely capable of ministering to you and helping you through some kind of difficulty you might be having. Now remember, when we get back on the 27th, it's going to be a fun day for our church. We're going to have one service at 11 o'clock. Sunday school will still happen at 10 o'clock, but one service at 11. So please spread the word of this so that the first service people will show up at 8:45. And then we're going to have potluck afterwards. It's going to be a fun day. I'm excited about that day. We're going to hear from 3 people in our congregation. We're going to tell you their life story, about what God has done in their lives. Many of you have never heard these stories. I haven't heard all of these stories. One of them might even sing a song on his guitar that I heard about. He might play this song that I'm going to do. And they're going to tell you what God has done in their lives and how He has transformed their lives, and He continues to do that, and how He's working in their lives. So I'm excited about those testimonies. So that'll be during the service time with our worship on Sunday the 27th, and then we'll get together and celebrate Thanksgiving together on that thankful Sunday. So sound good? Okay, Teresa will eat. The rest of you. All right, good. All right, I think that's everything I need to let you know about. We're also excited to start a new ministry. It's our Greeters and Ushers ministry. And so if you're interested in greeting people, you may notice when you came in the doors today that Dave and Bonnie were out there, maybe even had an umbrella for you to welcome you as you came to church. And then you come down and you see Jim and Karen at the door at the TV or Jody back there, and just greet you and say welcome. We're going to start doing that and more of that. So if you'd love to do that, you say, hi, I'd love to stand out there and greet folks as they come to church. See Doran, and he would plug you into a schedule and have you be a part of that. And you don't have to be a couple to do it. You can be a couple guys or a couple gals, or do it with a friend, and just welcome people as they come and be good day. I think that's everything you need to know. Our ushers will come to receive our offering and ask God to bless our giving as we continue to worship Him. He is faithful to honor that giving. So we want to ask God to be honored by what we're doing this morning. Let's pray. Lord, we just thank You for being a loving Father who takes such good care of us. You're such a blessing to us. And I just pray that as we give You this offering, we worship You in this way, that You are pleased with that. We want to give humbly and honestly and joyfully, God, trusting You and knowing that You will take care of us as we give first to You, and then You take care of the rest. Thank You for loving us so much that You're aware of what we're doing today, and that You're pleased by it, I pray. In Jesus' name, amen. We're going to continue in worship this morning.
You are hope. who I am. This is who I am.
Do it all.
going on in your lives today. But you know that we are becoming and have been and will be and are declaring to be a church that rallies around our people when they are hurting or they are needing or they need healing or whatever they need in prayer. And you probably saw Mike and Treva come to the altars different times. That is because they're going to have this bat or anything this morning. It's because they ended up at the altars at different times. But their family's just been through a really, really, really rough week. And that doesn't begin to describe it. But they just need prayer today. That's all I can tell you. They just need some prayer. And in a huge, dramatic way. So I want you to gather around this family. Maddie, why don't you folks sit by Dad? And they just need some strength today. Wow. We just thank you that in the most difficult times of our lives, you're with us, and you never leave us, and you never forsake us. And while it never makes sense, some of the stuff we go through, and we just hopefully can trust you. And we're relying on you. And I just pray for Mike, and Treva, and Joyce, and Maddie, and we just had an incredibly unimaginably difficult week. And I just pray you would just comfort them, and they would just crawl up in your lap like little kids, and you'd wrap your arms of love and comfort and protection around them, that you would drive out fear, that you would drive out pain and anger, God, and your love would supersede every frustration that they're having, God, every fear, God, everything would just drive it out. You would protect them and watch over them and bless them with your presence. In their darkest and scariest moments, and in their most calm, joyful moments that they may find, God, that you would bless them and take care of them and hold them tightly. God, this family just needs you to really hold them tightly this week. In the coming weeks and days and months and years, that you would bless them with your presence in an unmistakable way. I pray that, God, you would protect them against division that Satan would want to have happen. And you would protect them and you would strengthen this family even more than they already are, God. You would bring Mike and Treva even closer together. Joyce and Maddie, and Joyce and her parents, and Maddie and her parents, God, you would just bind this family tighter and tighter than ever before. That out of this tragedy and out of the things that they're going through, God, these difficulties, that you would bless them with your presence in such a way they would say, we would never ever want to walk through that again. But you are blessing us with strength that we couldn't imagine before. God, we believe and trust that you can make a way where there seems to be none. And God, we just have to trust you. And I pray that I can't imagine that comes easily, but I pray that it comes. And you would just bless this family. I just don't know how else to pray. We just pray for your answers, your presence in Jesus' name. Thank you for praying this morning, for trusting that sometimes we don't understand things and families go through tough stuff. We should trust God and lay Him aside. Just be praying for Mike and Treva and Joyce and Maddie as they go through some stuff. And right now, that's what we say about it. And we love this family, and we will not step aside from them. We will stand with them and be strength along with them. So, Connor's loading up my PowerPoint for me.
I'm getting there.
So, somebody tell me something that's gone on this week that God has done in your life or shown you in your life. Or maybe He's just given you stamina in the midst of chaos this week and you just need some strength from God and He's given you that. Anybody got a testimony tonight that you would go, or today you would go, you know what? This is what God has done for me. This is what God has shown me. I wanted to do this for a while. I haven't had a chance to do it, but when we were pastoring in Harrington, I wanted to do it here. We had a candle that was sitting in the corner. And just kidding. there, right there, Mom. Thank you. And we just sit there. And in the morning, as people would come in, somebody might just walk over and light it. And they would just light the candle as an indication that God has lit their life in some way. He has touched them in some way. The fire of God has touched their life in some way. Sometimes I would ask for that. They would say, hey, that was me. I lit the candle today. Or somebody else would say, I was going to, but you beat me to it. And sometimes nobody would say why. They would just say, God's fire touched me this week, or His light lit my life this week. And so one of these days I'm going to get a candle out here and you can do that. But if somebody gets something where you can say, yes, God has done this in my life this week, and I want to share about it. Kathy.
Well, last night, about 11:30, we had to take my dad to the hospital, emergency. And God walked him in and God walked him out. And he had no weakness in the hand and like no communication with the brain to the hand of how to do things and to grip or any of those kind of things. And so we were there for quite a while and they did a brain scan. No blood in the brain, thinking maybe possibility of a stroke, no tumor. So we were so grateful for that. And then when we were leaving, the little nurse, she was saying, what sweet people. Their testimony, my dad just, he shined for Jesus the whole time he was there. I was so proud of my parents. And then this morning, I let my daughter, because my daughter's always said, let me know, what's going on with Grandma, Grandpa, and you guys, and I'll be mad if I find out, somebody's sick and I don't know about it. So I text her, and she called immediately, and she said, Mom, what is going on? And I told her, and I told her, we got to bed about 3 o'clock this morning. And I said, I can't talk very long, honey, because we've got to go to church. She said, you guys are going to church? I'm like, yeah, we're going to church. I said, Grandma and Grandpa are teaching a class today. She goes, they're teaching? And I'm like, yeah, they're teaching. And I said, Christy, God walked Grandpa out of that emergency room. And their commitment to God and their faithfulness to God, He will honor that. And I said, that's the kind of grandparents you have. She said, okay, Mom, just keep me posted. So I was like, yes, God, just keep working on my daughter. Even using that testimony of that faithfulness, and that's what I've seen all my life. So I praise God for Him being in our lives and protecting my dad and getting us through things.
Very good. Next time, it's pretty cool when that they're here today. So next time somebody says, I'm not going, I'm too tired.
Yeah.
I'm not going to church today. For Pete's sake, the guy was in the hospital 3 in the morning and he came to church.
Yeah, right. And
yeah, so he's 92. Come up with a better reason to stay home. Anybody else got something here? Real quick. I don't want to take a lot of time. We're running a little bit late today. That's okay. That's okay.
Real quick.
Carol.
Yes.
Yes.
This last couple of weeks, has been, a lot of us has walked through a lot of goofy stuff. And it had to do with our hearts. And I'm just reminded, and you were talking to Traven the other day, it's kind of, God brought back to my mind, because I asked him, why is all of this junk happening? And if I looked around myself, there's a lot of good things happening also. But God told me, remember my servant Job and what he went through. He went through a lot of stuff that we could just easily throw our hands up in the air and say, forget this is too hard. But it gave me fire, because I was always done. But it gave me fire. And a lot of us may walk through that to test us. But God says, try my servant Job to Satan. And so I was reminded of that, and that's a blessing. Keep going.
Thank you. You know who these two are?
Yep.
Oh.
Right there. Forever faithful.
This is Earl and Naomi. You know who? So maybe you know who these two are.
Oh yeah.
On Wednesday, I know we're not supposed to make a big thing out of this. You don't want to make production or spectacle, make a big stink over the whole deal. But on Wednesday, these two lovely people will celebrate 70 years All right. 70 years. Sonia and I did quick math. We said we can make it. Make it 70 years. If God tarries and our bodies do, we'll make it to 70 years. If we don't kill each other first, we'll make it to 70 years. Pretty incredible testimonies. We, as a young couple, and 24 for us next June, but so we're a couple, third of the way behind you, 2/3 behind you. Thank you. Thank you for showing us what love looks like 70 years down the road. Thank you for showing us how, as a couple, you can follow and serve Jesus together. And you didn't want a big party because we would have thrown that, and you didn't want any stuff because you got everything you need, right? So your church family, I just threw out a note really quickly this week and said, hey, can you bring some cards? So we have a handful of cards. I'm going to walk these back here to you. That some folks just got together and just wanted to give you to you just to say, this is say happy anniversary. Thank you for being special to us. 70 years. Yes, thank you. Now, I know everybody's got a birthday and everybody else has an anniversary, and we can't put it on everybody else's. So if you get 70 years, you let me know, and we'll talk about it 70 years in. So I'm still alive.
70 years, I want to party.
All right, everyone's a party.
We'll give you one. Tom will give you one.
Everyone's on vacation. You have a Bible this morning, turn to Psalms chapter 20. Psalms 20 this week is where we're going. Oh, Michelle's got something to share. I'm sorry, I forgot all about that. Yep, Michelle has some important things to share. Every month we do Moments with Missions, and so we are running late today, but that's okay. So you're going to roll right through it and see how it's still.
Shorter version next first service.
But Moments with Missions, every month we talk about what our missions group is doing, and so Michelle's going to talk about the Unity Gospel Mission and our ministry there and Thanksgiving.
All right. Well, some of you, it might be hard to believe that Mark and I kind of have a special place in our hearts for the Unity Gospel Mission. I know that's probably hard to believe. But we have the privilege of serving on the NMI committee along with some pretty awesome people. And our we're kind of represent the local missions here. So we just kind of wanted to share with you guys, in case you don't know exactly where your money goes. When we do a fundraiser every year for our Faith Promise fundraising, that money goes not only to missions internationally, but right here in our own local mission. So just so you know, we have, once a year, we get to do an annual barbecue for the homeless in the back. And this is on a Saturday. Keep in mind, we do not serve lunch at the mission on Saturdays or Sundays. So it's a really cool time that we get to come in, and Darren brings his barbecuers, and we bring all this food, and we get to serve the homeless a meal that they ordinarily wouldn't have had on a Saturday. And we do worship, and we get to hang out, and it's a really neat time to fellowship with them. We also do Women's and Family Chapel the second Saturday or second Friday of every month, which pastor comes, part of our worship team, we minister to these families. We also do, like we have coming up right now, we have our Thanksgiving meals that we serve. We serve the day before Thanksgiving. So we're going to have probably over 200 people in this cafeteria, and our volunteer coordinator, her and I are kind of close, so she's always reserved for us because the spots fill up in months in advance for Thanksgiving for volunteering. But she saves a spot for us every year to have the entire cafeteria just for our church to come in and serve and minister to these people. So it's a pretty special time. I don't know if some of you guys have done it, maybe not, but we're signing up this weekend and next weekend for that. It's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, 1 o'clock meal that we're going to serve. We also get to do the Christmas party at the Madison House. We get to be part of that in a way that they hadn't had before, and it was our church who actually started incorporating family photos with the families that come through and they get a gift, and they get they have a Christmas story that people get to hear about. And so we actually have Lance and Tracy Johnson that come and set up their little photo booth, and we take pictures from families that probably it's the only family picture they may have, that year. So, or ever. So we actually will be signing up for that in December. So I just want to thank you guys for your part in this ministry. Not to mention a couple times a year that we donate a large amount of toilet paper, which some people don't understand how big of a need there is. Could you imagine if the mission runs out of toilet paper? It wouldn't be fun. So there's over 90 toilets at the Union Gospel Mission. So we provide toilet paper for everyone who stays there. So it is a huge need. We actually consider it an urgent need. And you guys, because of your giving, we get to provide large amounts, like a pallet of toilet paper twice a year. It's pretty awesome. So thank you guys. I just wanted to share that with you.
So if you want to be a part of serving, it's a Wednesday, the day right before Thanksgiving. See Michelle or Mark, they got a sign-up sheet. That sign-up sheet fills up fast. And there's really a maximum number of people they can have. Otherwise, it gets way too crowded down there. So if you want to do that, see them either before or after service or catch them next week. And the same with Madison House. This week has certainly been a volatile one, hasn't it? If you haven't heard, or you've been on top of a mountain somewhere, or in some cave tucked away somewhere, or you simply really couldn't care less, then maybe you weren't aware that we elected a new president 5 days ago. And that single yet major event in our nation has caused radical divisions among families and friends, co-workers, students, parents, children, celebrities, sports figures, certainly politicians, and more across America, across economic status, across age groups, across genders, across race, and even across religions. It has caused division. I don't think anyone who has any awareness of what's been going on across our nation would argue that the election itself has been divisive and has caused massive division. Now, that doesn't mean that it is brand new. That division has existed. It's just magnified or amplified that division that was already really there, lying there, and we just found another reason to squawk about it, really, is what's been going on. Add to that major thing this week, the nearly half a dozen murders in our own valley over the last couple of weeks. Maybe add to that illness within your own family, possibly the loss of job or some other financial crisis, the stress of family dynamics, and especially family dynamics this time of the year as you think about, do I go to my in-laws, do we go where the kids are going, and what's going on with the children, and all that stuff, and Thanksgiving and Christmas. Add to that the statistical increase of domestic violence and suicide rates at this time of the year, the most happy time of the year. We increase that number because of the stress and the pressure around this time of the year. Add to that other tragedies that you face throughout the week or the last few weeks. And you might be thinking or feeling or even believing that the world has never seemed more hopeless. Violence is on the increase, godly morals are on the decrease. Our soldiers are facing life or death situations in various locations around the world. And even those soldiers who are not facing life and death situations, they are living in countries, serving in countries, who don't even want us there. By the way, if you are a veteran, thank you. I know for sure Dwayne, Tom, who else is a veteran in the room that has served? And thank you, Don. Anybody else that served our nation? Thank you. Make sure you thank those folks that have served us so well. Thank you, Jim. Taking care of our country. I know Nick, he's not here today. He's out serving us as a county officer now, but served us proudly as a Marine in our country. So thank those men and women, those families. But all those people are out doing those things, and then back home, a police officer being killed has become common and happens at least once a week or even more than that lately. We as firefighters and EMTs have to actually stand back and wait for some situations to be deemed secure by law enforcement before we're able to go save a life or stop bleeding or do those sorts of things. Some fire and EMS departments have even gone to the extreme of either having done or are considering to be wearing body armor. And all of this might cause you to think or feel or believe that our world has never seemed more divided and hopeless. Today we're going to talk about it. I planned this message on the heels of what I knew would be, regardless of who you voted for and whether your candidate won or your candidate didn't. We're not going there today because then we'd have to sit you on both sides. And probably even in this own room we would have people who would vote differently on the candidates or on the issues. We're not going to get into that today. We don't have the time or the energy for it. We're going to talk about this state of our world that seems hopeless. We're going to ask the question that's up on the screen in front of you. Where is our hope? To begin, let's ask another question first. Who or what do you trust? Most people have some givens that they trust, some absolute normal things that you trust. You would trust family. At least, let's say your immediate family, your wife, your spouse, your husband, your children. Maybe you don't trust the crazy uncle, the nutcase brother, or that nagging sister. But you trust mostly your immediate family. I'm talking about my own situation, right? My own family, my wife and the kids, I'm good with. The rest of them, I don't know. You trust your friends most of the time. You would say, I trust my employer or my job, because at least if you don't trust the people, you trust the situation and it gives you income. You trust your car. You got up this morning, and I bet you I asked you, none of you in the room got in the car and prayed for it to start. You just turned the key. That's what you drove with Captain today to drive the Subaru. So he made it. But we trust these things. You trusted the alarm clock. It went off this morning, didn't it? You didn't have to pray about it before you went to bed. The alarm clock went off. You trust, some of you will say, I trust, or most people would say, I trust the police or the fire or the EMTs to show up and give you help. Some of you trust guns. Some of you trust money. Even some of you at some point would say or admit that you trust the government, believe it or not, even if that trust is only based on provision. For your Social Security check or your disability check or for your health insurance or something, for some reason your veteran's pension or something like that, you trust the government. Reader's Digest once surveyed 1,000 people. They took 1,000 Americans, top 1,000 answers on the board. Here's the answers. And they came up with a list of 100 people. Out of 1,000 people they questioned, they came up with a list of 100 people that these 1,000 people say they trust. You want to know who some of them are? You'll be surprised, because aside from their accomplishments, none of them have done anything to prove that they're trustworthy. Which is crazy. 1,000 people said these 100 people are the most trustworthy people in America, and none of them, from my estimation, have done anything to prove that they're trustworthy. None of them have really done anything that would cause us to put our hope in them. But yet still, 1,000 people said that these were some of the 100 people they trust the most. Steven Spielberg, Melinda Gates, Bill Gates, Julia Roberts, and Meryl Streep, Sandra Bullock, Denzel Washington, Maya Angelou, Alex Trebek. Really? He's a nice guy, I would assume, but really? Ben Stiller, Dr. Phil, Tim Burton, Clarence Thomas, Rachel Ray, Steve Harvey, Jimmy Carter, Michelle Obama, and the number one most trustworthy person out of all the other 99 was Tom Hanks. I like Tom Hanks. I watched Forrest Gump. I watched some of his movies. Sleepless in Seattle. What was the fish mermaid story? That one. You know, Splash. 100 people, or 1,000 people said out of the 100 people, Tom Hanks was the most trustworthy person in America. Isn't that crazy? What has Tom Hanks done for you or me other than provide us with an hour and a half worth of entertainment? Or 30 minutes every Friday night on Bosom Buddies. Remember he was on that show? That's about it. In fact, we are so wrapped up in this. Tell us, how many of these 100 people are going to pay your bills? Or heal you of an illness? Or rescue you from prison or addiction? Or give you a job? Or rescue you from abuse or a bad marriage or a bad relationship? We are so warped in this that when those men and women who portray doctors or firefighters or EMS people on a television program, Trapper John M.D., remember that guy? Or Dr. Green, Anthony Edwards on ER. When they go out in the real world and there is a medical emergency, people like us will look to them for help. Because we have this mind, we can't separate the two. You're a doctor on TV, then you save the person that's getting sick. No, I'm just a doctor on TV, but we still trust them like that because we invest so much of ourselves into these characters that do nothing for us. Not one of them. How many of those 100 can save your life when you need it? And how many of those 100 can you trust your life to after death? The answer is simply none, and you already know that. None of them. None of them are going to do anything for you. Now maybe you might guilt or beg or coerce or manipulate or blackmail Bill Gates into giving you some money or one of these actors into doing something nice for you or something like that. But really the ultimate truth is that none of them will do anything for you. But yet we say these 100 people are the most trustworthy. Some of us even trust ourselves. We trust our own experiences, our own skills, our own talents, our own knowledge. We trust our own abilities. We trust our history. We trust even our own achievements, or even our own accumulations of physical or material or temporal things. The reality is, though, that none of this is going to help you live any longer. When that flat line runs across that screen on that monitor in a hospital room somewhere, none of that, none of your accomplishments, your smarts, your abilities, people you know, your family, your friends, your guns, your money, the government, none of that is going to help you live any longer beyond that final beat. None of that will solve any problem because none of it's guaranteed. You may run out of money. You may even run out of bullets. Your gun may misfire. Your job may end. Your friends and family can and probably will. If they have not, they may still fail you or walk out on you or not come through for you or let you down. Your car may not start. The alarm may not go off. Even the people we expect, even the people we pay to help us may not get there in time to save us, to put out the fire, to stop the burglar, to help us with a heart attack. We can't always save ourselves. Ultimately, I can't restart my heart when I'm dying. And even the greatest achievements aren't perfection or a guarantee of it. And we can't absolutely know everything about everything. The bottom line is there are no guarantees in life. Life is completely uncertain and unpredictable. So go ahead and eat your dessert first. And while it may sound cliche, and it may sound like a catchphrase, there really is only one person who can save you and has saved you. The only one who has defeated death, the only one that nothing else can beat. That none of us can beat on our own. So if I'm going to hedge my bets, and I'm going to put my trust in, and I'm going to find my hope in anyone or anything, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and I usually say it every Easter, I'm going to trust three people. I'm going to trust Jesus Christ, first of all, the only person in the history of humanity to walk out of the same grave he was carried into.
Amen.
Secondly, I'm going to trust the one who orchestrated the whole thing. That's God, his Father. And thirdly, I'm going to trust the Holy Spirit who empowered the whole thing to happen.
Amen.
Or I might just simplify it and say I trust all three of them. Because they are the only ones that have not and never will fail me. But as we've said before, we find our trust, our hope often misplaced. And this isn't anything new. For thousands of years, God has been battling this issue with kings and princes, government leaders, even Jewish leaders, Pharisees and Sadducees, the leaders of the Jewish law and the temples and the teachings of God and the law. They battled this. They would pride themselves on their knowledge, on their material wealth. Even, believe it or not, for whatever crazy reason, they would pride themselves on their number of wives. Those who had large numbers of camels or livestock or gold or silver or lumber, even horses and chariots too, were considered powerful and wealthy. David, prior to being king, he saw this and he lived it as he served in Saul's kingdom. And he faced it when the same king in the same kingdom tried to kill him. And then as king, David saw it in the kingdoms that he battled, when the Israelites faced and defeated not just the Goliath and the Philistines, but all kinds of other enemies that they had to face. David was also the author of most of the book of Psalms. And as I told you before, I always appreciate when I read the Psalms, there's a but in the Psalms. I just like that. There's a therefore or a but. This is what's going on. This is what's happening. The moment when David is facing reality, facing even more mortality of his own, facing overwhelming odds, and is honest and realistic and just kind of telling God, Lord, this stinks. I don't like this situation in life. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. Might as well go and eat worms sort of mantra. And he's just spewing that out to God and saying, God, this is horrible. But I don't like my life. But it's not fair. But they're mean to me. But they want to kill me. But this tragedy happened to me. But... And we're going to see as we read through Psalm 20 here in just a moment, the but moment that comes. I I was going to read just 2 verses of this, but I find myself wanting to read all of it, so we're going to back up and read the entire passage of chapter 20. And then we'll get to 7 and 8. And David writes these words. I can't put them all on the screen for you, but we'll get to 7 and 8 in moments. He says, "May the Lord answer you when you are in distress. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you." Can I tell you that David knew what he was talking about? David was a guy they tried to kill on more than one occasion. He served a king who hated him and tried to kill him. He had to defeat a Goliath, a giant, who towered over him, and certainly he was scared of, even though he had the confidence of God within. All these things went on in David's life, and then add to that the fact that he had an affair, murdered a guy over it, and lied about it, and tried to cover the whole mess up. And then because of all that, he lost his own child. So David understood what it meant to say, "May the Lord answer you when you are in distress." He understood tragedy and distress and just facing insurmountable things that we might even label as hellish on earth. And he says in verse 2, "May he send you help from the sanctuary and grant you support from Zion. May he remember all your sacrifices and accept your burnt offerings. May he give you the desire of your heart and make all your plans succeed. May we shout for joy over your victory and lift up our banners in the name of our God." He's saying in your life as a follower of God, as an Israelite believer in Yahweh, God the Father Creator, may all this happen for you. May He hear you when you're in distress, and all these things happen as a result of hearing your distress. And then he says in verse 6, "Now this I know, the Lord gives victory to His anointed. He answers him from His heavenly sanctuary with the victorious power of His right hand." Now you might say, well, David was His anointed. David was His chosen. And granted, that's true. He was chosen and anointed to be king. But church, we are now His chosen. We are now His children. We are now children of the King. And so we can repeat this verse for ourselves too. And so Jim Beattie can say, "I know the Lord gives victory." So that Kathleen can say, "I know the Lord gives victory." Mark and Kathleen have a grandson who's going to have triplets in March. I got 3 and I spread them out. I was a little smarter, but one of them's 21 today. But triplets in March. And the prayer concern is they don't know if they're going to make it that long. Because one of them is not growing as well, and at 26 weeks, they may take these children in the next few. Because 2 out of the 3 are doing well, one's not. So we need to be praying for Kathy and Mark and their grandson. Christian is his name. For those little tiny babies. All 3 of them. But David can read this, and you guys can read this and say, "I know the Lord gives victory to His anointed. He answers him from His heavenly sanctuary." You know what that means if God answers me? That means God heard me. God knows what I need before I need it. We sang that earlier. We've said that in Scripture before. We read that. God knows our needs, so He answers me because He hears me when I cry out to Him and say, "God, help! This is lousy, and I hate it, and it hurts. And it feels hopeless." Whether it's over the election, as crazy as that sounds, or some other tragedy in your life, or just some difficulty you're facing with family, or work, or financial, or physical. And you say, "God, help!" And David's reminding us that He answers us because He hears us. And He answers us with the victorious power of His right hand. I have always believed that our prayers are this. Our prayers are the catalyst that ignites the heart of God and causes His hand to move on our behalf. Because we have a good, good Father who loves us and wants to protect us and heal us and deliver us and rescue us. Even though we're going to go through junk in life, and that's a really polite way to put it. Even though life is going to seem like hell on earth, He will still walk with us. And in those days when we can't make it, He will carry us. And so he goes on to say, for those of you who don't buy into this, because there are some of you trust in chariots and some in horses, in the things of this world. but we trust in the name of the Lord our God.
Amen.
Wow. I love sometimes finding good old Israelite songs. You know what I'm talking about? Like Jehovah Jireh. I put it on Days of Elijah. We'll take it off. Crank it up in the car by myself so I don't embarrass my wife. I just turn it up really loud. Sing it and just listen to it. My parents were raised, I was raised as a young Christian with new Christian parents on that kind of music. The Israelite kind of beat was going on as in the 80s, 90s era. Turn it up and think about that. Kind of like God's marching, His cadence. He's coming, He's coming, He's coming, He's coming, and the thunder rolls and the chariots roll, and here He comes. And we don't trust in horses or chariots or things of this world. We trust in the name of the Lord our God. And those, or they, that's those who don't believe, those who trust in those other things of the world or themselves, they are brought to their knees and fall, but we rise up and we stand tall. In church, we have been beaten down. And I'm not talking about us standing up and being arrogant and protesting on the streets of Portland or some other nonsense. I'm just talking about we need to stand up and say, you know what? With the love of Christ, we may disagree. But I don't have to bow or cower or be walked on to defend my God and have Him defend me. We rise up and stand firm. Lord, give victory to the King. Answer us when we call. I love that verse. Why can we rise up and stand firm? Because our hope and our trust isn't in the things of this world. It isn't placed in temporal things or things we can do. Our trust is placed in God alone. Remember the song we sing? We sing this. Do we really believe this? My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly stand on Jesus' name. On Jesus' name. My abilities will fall short. My abilities will fail. I will die. Let's trust the guy who didn't. I mean, He did, but then He rose again. Another famous hymn, of course, we sang part of it earlier this morning, called It Is Well. And you probably are familiar with It Is Well. But maybe you're not as familiar with the story behind it. The why of It Is Well. Why is it well? That song was written by a man named Horatio Spafford, and this is his story. He was a successful lawyer and businessman in Chicago with a lovely family, a wife, Anna, and five children. However, they were not strangers to tears and tragedy. Their young son died with pneumonia in 1871, and in the very same year, their thriving business was lost in the Great Chicago Fire. Yet God, in His mercy, allowed that business to flourish again. On November 21st, 1873, there was a French ocean liner that was traveling across the Atlantic from the U.S. to Europe with 313 passengers on board. Among the passengers were Mrs. Spafford and their 4 daughters. Mr. Spafford had planned to go, but had some business to attend to back in Chicago, so he sent his family on ahead and said, I'll catch up with you in a few days, planning to take a different ship across the ocean. About 4 days into their crossing of the Atlantic, the French ship collided with a powerful iron-hulled Scottish ship. And suddenly all those on board were in grave danger. Anna, his wife, hurriedly brought their 4 children onto the deck. Can you imagine this? 4 children huddled on the deck with their mother as the ship began to sink. She knelt there with Annie, Margaret Lee, Bessie, and Sonetta and prayed that God would spare them, if that could be His will, or to make them willing to endure whatever awaited them. Within approximately 12 minutes, the ship slipped beneath the dark waters of the Atlantic, carrying with it 226 passengers, including the 4 Spafford girls. A sailor rowing a small boat over the spot where the ship went down spotted a woman floating on a piece of wreckage. It was Anna. She was still alive, and he rescued her. He pulled her into the boat. They were picked up by another vessel, a larger vessel. And 9 days later, that vessel unloaded them in Wales. From there, she wired her husband a message, which began, "Saved, alone, what shall I do?" Mr. Spafford booked passage on the next available ship left to join his grieving wife. And while he was traveling across the ocean, across the Atlantic, on the same journey that his wife and children had just made, about 4 days in, the captain called him to the bridge and told him they were over the place where his children went down. If you've ever been to Pearl Harbor and stood on that monument, an incredible thought that I had as a 16-year-old boy. standing in that moment and thinking about the men who were still buried in that sunken grave in that ship, the Arizona. It's very humbling and awe moment as you think about what they went through. And I have no connection to any of them. Yet here is Spafford in a ship, sailing across the Atlantic, and crossing the very same point where his daughters were buried, some hundreds of feet below him. And according to his older daughter, born later, that's where he wrote, began to write, "It is well with my soul." And he wrote these words, "When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul, it is well with my soul." Anna gave birth to 3 more children, another one which died of pneumonia in 1881, 10 years after the first. Nowhere in God's spoken word, which was then written word, does he promise us an easy life. And I can promise you, I have sat with families through tragedies. I have sat with families whose children have died. I have sat with families whose parents have died way too young. It makes sense, doesn't it, when somebody's in their 90s or their 80s and they have a disease or an illness or just because of age they die. We kind of understand that's the course and cycle of life. But I can tell you, when you face tragedy in life and you sit with them as a pastor, and they look at you, that family, across the table or in a school parking lot or somewhere else, in a hospital room next to their loved one's bed, and they say, "Why?" I don't have an answer. I really don't. I think the most honest answer is, I don't know why. I do know this, that nowhere in his written word does he ever promise us an easy life. He never promises us a life without hardship. He doesn't promise us a life without difficulty or loss or tragedy or violence or pain. In this violent, sin-filled, broken, dark, morally degrading world that we live in, sometimes we're hit with it. And it stinks. And it hurts. And it takes a long time before it doesn't hurt as much anymore. But what does he promise? He promises us that he is still the answer. When we can trust nothing or no one. He promises us that even when life seems to be spinning out of control and you think, "God, I just want to stop the ride, I want to get off," he's still in control. Nothing surprises him. Nothing catches him off guard. You know what? On Monday of last week, he knew who was going to be president. On Wednesday of last week, he knew who was going to be president. He wasn't surprised when rioters looted and rioted in Portland for 5 days now. He wasn't surprised when they did it in Seattle and 5 people were shot, related or not. He's not been surprised by any of this chaos that has been escalating lately or has been going on for years now and will still continue to go on because it's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets a whole lot better. The reality is, though, while we may not clearly hear an answer from God, in these moments I try really hard in the middle of unmistakable and unimaginable pain to remember 3 things. Number 1 is he's God and I'm not. So I'm arguing with the top dog. I'm arguing with God, and that's a battle I'm not going to win. So argue all I want, express my frustrations, tell him my doubts and fears. He's big enough to handle all that. But I just have to, number 1, remember he's God and I'm not. Why? I don't know why. Number 2, he knows more than I do. He sees a much bigger picture of life than I do. That doesn't mean he causes things to happen. But in this sin-filled, broken world, he can see down the road how he can use what we go through. And number 3, he still is and always will be in control. Whether I like it or not. Whether I have a different plan or not. Whether I think things should go a different way or not, he's still in control. Despite how ugly the world may be around me. Despite how hopeless my life, or in general, or my individual life may seem. These 3 truths never change. He's God and I'm not. He knows more than I do. And he's still in control. Later on in Psalm 62, David revisits these truths. I can't fit it all up there, but again, 7 and 8 stood out to me. I'm going to read you Psalm 62. And David, again, knowing tragedy, knowing difficulty, knowing despair and distress, and all the things that many of you face or are facing or have gone through, he said, "Truly, my soul finds rest in God. My salvation comes from Him. Truly, He is my rock and my salvation. Maybe today you need to print this out or write it down on a Post-it note, staple it to your forehead, put it on the dashboard of your car, put it on your nightstand in your mirror, on your fridge, wherever you need to put it, wherever you need to go. Maybe these are the words you need to latch onto today. Truly, He is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will never be shaken. How long will you assault me? Will all of you throw me down? These are David's words. This leaning wall, this tottering fence, surely they intend to topple me from my lofty place. They take delight in lies. With their mouths they bless, but in their hearts they curse. Yes, my soul finds rest in God. My hope comes from Him. Truly, He is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will not be shaken. Notice how David wrote that twice. Verses 7 and 8. My salvation and my honor depend on God, not on anybody else. He is my mighty rock, my refuge. Trust in Him at all times, you people. Pour out your hearts to Him, for God is our refuge. Sonia and I were watching this program the other day called No Man Left Behind. It's kind of a military-type program. It's a neat, scary kind of program for me. She latched onto it, and I was all for it, so cool. So we're watching it, and one of these things, these guys, these soldiers are faced on this cliff. Like this mountain, like this was the wall, and up top people are shooting bullets down on our guys while they're huddled down below trying to get a break to shoot up above, right? And Sonia's comment was to me, she goes, I would be like the worst soldier ever. I would find a huge rock and just hide behind it until it was all done. I think so too. I mean, I try to be a tough guy, but I'm kind of a wimp. If I go outside at night, I got a big bat or something, you know, I'm kind of a scaredy cat. What's that? Who's stealing my truck? What's going on? You know, I let me bleed. But imagine that. God is like this massive rock, and the storms crash against it, and you kind of have to just kind of be huddled inside behind it. I had this different picture of my life. I picture a huge, massive, big old God, right? Up on this huge, massive, big throne. Trained in His robe filled the altar, the temple. The smoke and the flames and all the pyrotechnics and stuff and the lights and all this. This is what I picture, right? And I love this image of just myself when I'm in distress, when I'm struggling, when I'm fearful, when I'm hurting, when I'm broken. I picture in my own mind's eye crawling up on His lap. Like my kids did when they were little. And He just holds me. And He protects me. And nothing gets through. Trust in Him at all times, you people. Pour out your hearts to Him. God is our refuge. Finally, listen to these words from Romans chapter 15. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. And we could take a lot of time to dissect that whole verse and make up a recipe about how things work in sequence, and if we just trust Him, we will find hope in a hopeless world. Because my trust is not in things of this world. My trust is not in horses and chariots, or guns, or money, or gold, or silver, or me, or even you. As much as I love and care about you, I can't ultimately trust you, because even you or I will fail you or I at some point. But God never ever does. And David, who knew all about failure and despair and tragedy and distress, and Paul, who even experienced it himself, said, you want to find hope and peace? Trust Him. Where do you need today to put your hope and your trust? Even when life is just flat out not fair. Because sooner or later, or right now, it won't be. And you can't blame everybody else. I don't get wrapped up in saying, well, my mom and dad were so mean to me. I'm sorry, maybe they were, but 40 years ago, come on. Is that cold to say? Is that mean? I'm sorry. But come on. Life's going to be hard. I've sung it before, I'll say it again, that old song, I beg your pardon, He never promised you a rose garden. God doesn't promise us. Nowhere in here does He say it'll be easy. In fact, Jesus said, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. So my trust is not in me, or in Teresa, or Treva, or Dave, or any of you, and please don't trust me. I mean, I want you to, but you know what I'm getting at. I'm going to drop the ball at some point in life and not come through for you, or I'm not going to save you as much as I want to try. Ultimately, I can't because I'm not perfection, but God does. I love this picture. Truly, He is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will never be shaken. I live in a solid house when I live in the house of God. Where do you need hope and trust? Maybe life has been unimaginably difficult lately. Maybe you're experiencing a tragic loss, or you're afraid of that, or a huge tragedy, or maybe you're scared, or maybe you're afraid of what's going on in our world. I have to admit to you, the other night, one of these nights this week, I was laying in bed and being a nerd, and I was watching on my phone the protests in Portland. We used to live down the Columbia River Gorge, and so we're very familiar with the Portland area. Lived there for 16 years, and so we watched all that go on. And as I watched it on my phone, I found this knot kind of forming in my gut. I was a little nervous, and I see ridiculous acts of violence, and I see Americans burning the flag, which is... And this nonsense and this knot forms in my gut, and I have to admit to you, a little bit of fear started to creep in. I was afraid of that. I mean, I know it's cleared out of Portland, it's over to Seattle, and it's not in bleed, but still, is it going to seep out? I started to think about it, and I finally just shut it off and just prayed to God. I just need to get this out of my head right now. I'm not going to stick my head in the sand, but please, I can trust you. We need to trust you. And your world may feel like that. Maybe you're afraid of what's going on in our own valley right now, or your own neighborhood right now. Maybe you're sick. Maybe financially you don't know what's next. And you tried all the regular things to trust, and all of it has failed. 2 questions. Number 1, why do we wait? Why do we wait to trust God? I don't know. There's an old saying that says God's office is at the end of your rope. Why do we wait to the end of our rope to get there to trust Him? I don't know. Humanity, we just do. But regardless of whether you're at the end of your rope or you're sliding down the middle of it, wherever you're at, the simple question is, will you trust Him now? Because there's nothing else that's a guarantee. Let's pray. God, I thank You that we can trust You. That You have never dropped the ball, You've never not come through, You've never not protected me, You've never not delivered me. If I have allowed You to, in my free will that You freely give me, if I have allowed You to intervene on my behalf, or provide on my behalf, or save me on my behalf, and You have done that, and You will do that, that is who You are. You are a lover, and a fighter, and a protector, and a deliverer, and a rescuer, and a provider, and all those things, so thank You. God, forgive me, and forgive all of us, first of all, for not running to You first. But we're here now, and we do live in this mixed up, upside down, backwards, crazy, spinning out of control world that You're still in control of. And we need to trust You. So God, whether we're looking at the world globally and saying, wow, what's going on, or we're looking at our own lives and we're saying, wow, what's going on, God, help us to trust You. Help us to completely put our hope and our trust in You and let You deal with the outcome, because You are God and we are not, and You know more than we do, and You are in control. Thank You for all of that, and the rest, and the trust, and the reassurance, and the peace, and the hope that comes with that. God, I pray for folks, even right now, who are going through something that has just rocked their world and just seems unimaginably difficult. I pray that they would be overwhelmed by an unmistakable, indescribable, undeniable peace of God that bathes their